If you're looking to grow a garden, you're looking for someone with a green thumb. If you want to grow a positive person, you need to stay tuned to this morning's guest. Coming up next. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Financial Insights off of Grissom Parkway in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on growing positive people, and it's part 2 of Dr. Muriel O'Tuel. Good morning, Muriel. Thanks again for coming back in this morning.
Wonderful. It
was so exciting being with you yesterday morning. I think there was so much that we covered, but still so much to touch on. I think, as you said, we hadn't even gotten into the meat of it when we had to wrap up. So it's great getting you back in. Really is a treat.
It's an honor for me to be here. Great.
Of course, to think about a subject like growing positive people, and yesterday, if you remember, as I wrapped up the show, we were thinking about mental vitamins or the language of validation. These are some big topics that tie into that. Obviously, to make sure that the work is properly channeled in growing positive people, and it is a little bit of work.
It is. Right. Positive relationships don't happen overnight. That's why we have to grow them as we grow a garden. We nurture them, we put good seed there, and I was talking yesterday, or we were discussing how there's 1% of the population who really are bent and determined to put other people down, to make life miserable. But yet there's 79% who really are open to being positive. It's just not as much work in working with them. And the language of validation really is 4 words. And I have imprinted them in my heart forever. Simple words that I have used with groups for more than 20 years in a variety of ways. And those words are appreciate, admire, respect, and love. You know, even though we know we're loved, we don't express it. We don't let people know how we feel, whether it's in the workplace or home place. So through the years, I've been very interested in this concept of validation. Even if I'm having a small group of church women, I'll say, let's do the language of validation. They have no clue what I'm talking about. But what I do is I have 2 people face each other, much like you and I are facing each other. And what I do is I say something like, I appreciate you're having me on the show today. I admire you for what you do in this community, and I respect you as a person. And Greg, I like you a lot. You're easy to like.
Yeah, I like
You're so positive.
Oh, very nice.
But you know, we don't hear those words every day. So I've taken that on to a different level now in terms of my grandchildren. My husband died before my grandchildren were born. I have 3 grandkids. They're like 10, 8, and 5.
And they live here?
They live in North Carolina, Lake Norman.
Area,
They live about 4.5 hours. But one of the traditions, I think we have to make new traditions, or we have to do things to keep a positive attitude and a life. If that's important to us, I want my grandkids to be that way. And I tell you what, I don't have to work too hard with Delaney, the 5-year-old, because when she came in the bedroom one morning to snuggle with me a couple of years ago, she just comes in to snuggle, and she just says, "Oh, Mama, you are so beautiful. I love you. It's a beautiful day. Everything is wonderful." Well, as she came in and was snuggling, I have this flannel nightgown that I leave at my son's house, so I had on my flannel nightgown, and as a decent grandmother would do, I was pulling down my nightgown. And she happened to see a varicose vein or so on my leg, and she says, "Oh, Mama, I just love your tattoos." So you see, she is an easy one. No matter what she sees, she likes. But I got to thinking about what I could give them that would impact them forever. And it's not a gift. When I go visit my grandchildren, they never see me come to the door with gifts in hand.
Never.
Never. If I have a gift, it will be in the car. I'll give it to them later.
Yeah, sure.
But I don't come to the door with gifts in my hand.
Yeah.
I want them to be excited about seeing me.
Good for you, yes.
So that's sort of been a tradition.
Yes.
But about 3 years ago, I came up with this idea of the language of validation as a gift for Christmas. So what we do is we get one of the bar stools from the kitchen and place it by the Christmas tree.
Right.
And then each person in the family gets to sit in the high chair or the stool. And one by one, the family goes around and says something in the language of appreciate, admire, respect, and love, something positive that they admire or like or whatever about that person.
Wow.
So you see, there are 5 of them, 1 of me, so that's 6 people.
Yeah.
So here it is, it's Christmas time, the tree is lit, and the bar stool is by the tree. And I explained to them that that stool is the chair for the gift of words. So usually the oldest grandson gets in the chair, and then we all take turns by telling him something we like about him. Like I said, Will, I like your manners. I've noticed how well-mannered you are, and I really appreciate how you just have a love of reading.
Yeah.
Just something positive. And then, of course, everybody else comes around, and that
With
person
other
gets
things.
all of that validation.
I love it.
And then it's, the next one. It takes a while to do this.
Sure.
And I'm the last one in the chair.
Mama.
Sometimes they call me Mama at the beach.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm the last one in the chair, and they come around to tell me what they like about me. It's a wonderful format or forum for me to hear what my daughter-in-law thinks about me.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
She's from Chicago, which is another country.
Yeah.
But for the last 3 or 4 years, I've come to appreciate her more because I was wondering if she likes all the fun and stuff that I bring. And I'm different. I'm a Southern girl. I like stewed tomatoes on rice. I'm different.
Yes.
But it's through that I found out how much she appreciates me.
And how insightful she is, I guess.
How
she's seen
insightful
more
she
to you
is.
than you would have thought.
And this year, I heard words from my son. He's always been very close to me and very appreciative. But as I was sitting on that stool, and there's my son down on the floor looking up at me with his hands on my knees, he looks up in my face thinking, and then he says, Mama, I can't remember a time in my life I didn't love you. And that's powerful stuff.
That is.
And had I not structured that setting, we would not be able to communicate that way. So it's a forum you can use even in a very close-knit family to say things that we don't say unless it's structured.
Is this something that you think about, or that you think is particularly best suited for once a year, like Christmas time, or is it a good quarterly thing?
It's great to do at Thanksgiving.
Right, sure.
I've done that with my own family.
Sure.
At Thanksgiving, it's good at Valentine's.
Yeah.
In fact, I had a couple one time tell me that they used that. They just got married. They didn't have money to go out, and they decided to do the language of validation of taking time to tell each other how much they appreciate, admire, respect, and love.
Yeah.
And if you aren't comfortable with the word love, if you're using this in a work setting, you can use the word like.
Yeah.
But there are people everywhere who've never heard words of validation.
And we know Delaney loves your tattoos.
She loves my tattoos.
She loves your smile and your youthfulness. Does. What else did she love for
the
this
first time
Christmas?
We did this, she wasn't sure how... they were a little apprehensive about what do I say.
Yeah.
And the first thing she said to me about 3 years ago, she says, Mama, I love you. You are so silly. And to me, that was so positive.
Oh, yeah.
Coming from someone. So she was getting it.
Sure. She knew what was going on. Yeah. That's
so it's just totally impromptu. It's just a way of expressing our feelings.
Yeah.
And of course, it brings us closer.
Absolutely.
And,
As a family. Sure, all 6 of y'all.
And through that, my son writes notes to me. He knows that I really don't care about a package. I'd much rather have some words, some positive words. And for Mother's Day, I have this note that he wrote me, Mother's Day.
Let's hear it.
This is what he said. Just a quick note to wish you a wonderful Mother's Day. My gratitude to you for preparing me for life is endless. Please know that I will always love you and seek to inspire my kids the way you inspired me. I look forward to seeing you soon, your adoring son.
I love it.
And see, that's worth $1 million to me.
You're right. You're right.
So it's these words of appreciation, admiration, respect, and love that stay with us. And you see, when we don't use them, or when we're negative, we perpetuate a negative history for our children and our grandchildren. But when we, through our example, use words of validation, they learn to use words of validation.
Growing positive people, absolutely.
And that is a very personal example of how that happens.
That can happen, as you say. When you're speaking, and I know for folks who missed you yesterday, you're not only, and you retired more or less from being a full-time educator,
right?
But still surely maintain your speaking circuit, as well as working on your second, soon-to-be released book, which is, of course, the one for folks who weren't with us yesterday, Footprints on the Heart. You had a tremendous story that goes along with that, how you came up with that title.
Right.
I'd ask you to go over it again, but some folks who saw it yesterday, there's still a lot more to Growing Positive People that we want to get into. But this is a great subtitle, The Caring Path to Prosperity.
Right.
The Caring Path to Prosperity. And so much happens when you're thinking about either a setting like that or also growing positive people. So much has to happen to maintain that focus.
Yes. And Greg, in our lives we have all of these ups and downs. And when you said something about retiring from full-time educator work, actually it's just shifting gears. That's what life is all about, is just shifting and changing. We have to change. And it's incredible that when we focus on being a person people like to be around, I just don't like being around phonies. I don't like to be around people who are always so negative about everything.
Right.
And we make that happen. Like I said yesterday, we are not born being a positive person. We have to work at it like we grow a garden. We have to nurture to have caring paths for prosperity in terms of a life of joy. In fact, 85% of fulfillment in life comes from positive interaction with other people. So it just pays in terms of fulfillment in life. And that's what we strive for, is to be that person that people enjoy being around. They're comfortable with.
It is very important. And of course, as you say, whether it highlights into change, and actually Donna Tyson's going to be with us tomorrow talking about change in her life and changes in general, and how folks can better strengthen there and have some courage. And the change is a big issue. But of course, as you say, growing from, can you be negative? Can you be a real negative person and become a positive person? Is there hope? Yesterday you talked about that 1% of very negative people. Is that possible? Or do you, or maybe they can't be reached through Muriel O'Tuel?
Well, I believe there's hope for the turkeys.
Right.
But you have to want it. I believe this, Greg, that no matter how positive we are, the only person we can control is ourselves. And I think the most powerful way to grow positive people is to influence them through our own lives, being positive, being the example of a positive person. And we just have we have to work at it.
Oftentimes, as you said, I mean, that's a great example of being a positive person, and then hopefully folks will figure it out and they want to be a positive person. You sure want to be around positive people. You don't want negative people to pull you down, and that's so easy to happen. But oftentimes one of the difficulties is expressing things to others in a discerning fashion as opposed to what they perceive as a judgmental fashion.
Right.
You know, when you're trying to get them more upbeat and become more positive,
Yeah.
how do you go about doing that, Muriel, to make sure you aren't being perceived as judgmental? Because judgmental, obviously, I guess, would turn a lot of people off.
Yes, judgmental does turn people off, and I think about that in terms of the words we use, like when you use the word "you" a lot. I use, like, why don't you straighten up, or you should do this. I say stay away from should-isms, because we don't want to hear that all the time. An example I would give, say, to a parent, let's use that. Let's say a student comes home and says to his mother, guess what? I got suspended today. 99% of parents would say, what did you do?
Right.
Well, we have to learn to change our words. The same thing happens. The student comes home, I've been suspended. If we would only say something like, tell me what happened. It keeps the door open. There's room. And that's the way we work these building or growing positive people. We say things a little differently so they don't feel so defensive and so put down. And that's the way I've been able to do that. It's just sort of change the way I say things. Or look at little things. It's the little stuff that impacts us the most. Find something good. I had a student one time, and I couldn't find anything good to write in his report card, and I thought and thought and thought, and I finally wrote, Michael eats well in the lunchroom.
Good for you. Yeah.
But that was something.
Yeah.
You see, when we're working with these negative types, we have to find something to build on. Because they do something.
I loved it yesterday as we wrapped up the interview yesterday morning. You highlighted going in restrooms at gas stations or otherwise, and taking the time to go thank the person of the cash register or whoever's operating or wherever it was, a convenience store maybe you said, to thank them for keeping that bathroom clean, because it is nice. And I'm sure they're probably cleaner for women than they are for guys. Guys can make a bigger mess in restrooms. So that was real nice. That is noticing the small things, big to you, possibly small to them, and possibly very small to other people who walk through there.
Or when someone's really frustrated checking out in the grocery store and they're checking out everybody and there are people complaining. I always find something good to say, like something they have on, or you amaze me the way you handle that. I appreciate that. I said, not many people could handle that the way you did. And they light up. But it's just that little stuff that changes their entire way of seeing themselves.
Well, now, there's got to be times where you're a human being, just a normal person, where you want to explode or you just want to break down and say, what are you doing? I mean, move along. How do you keep that to yourself and not let that out? I mean, you really can't let that out. You got to be careful.
I'm careful.
Or your tenants. You're also a landlord.
Well, I do. I have tenants, and they test one's patience. Believe you me.
Sure.
And there are times when I give feedback. Let's say I give feedback, but I try to make it as positive as I can. But I'm not afraid to take action or do what I need to do. I can be very firm.
I love it.
But I can do it in a kind way. And another thing is manners. Manners don't cost a dime, but they're worth $1 million. And so many people just don't use their manners. So that's another way to show a positive way. When my son Bryant was at the Citadel during his must have been his sophomore year, because they had very little time away from school the first year. He always has been very outgoing, very sociable, and he would bring guys home. We lived only 40 miles from the Citadel, so I found myself in a situation where I was cooking these large dinners for Sunday, and he would bring 4 or 5 cadets. And it got to be a rut for me. So I called him aside and said, Bryant, I like for you to come home, and I enjoy your friends, but give me a break. Here I'm doing, I'm just working myself to death, and give me a break. And he said to me, he said, Mom, he said, I like to come home. I like the tablecloth. I love your food. But Mom, most of all, I like the way you treat me when my buddies come home. He said, you smile more at me, you make me feel so good. He said, Mom, you look better, you smell better.
Yeah.
He said, I like being around you when my buddies are here. And I was furious with him, and I ran that script through my head after he left, and I thought, he's right. And I read where we often treat strangers with more kindness and manners than we do those we live with and work with. If we're coming out of a crowded theater or opera and we step on somebody's toe, we go all out of our way to apologize profusely.
Right.
Whereas if we run over and want somebody in our family we're with, it's like, get out of the way.
Yeah,
so, there's we can carry this to many places, but the basic thing is just to be that person who's considerate, who is always working at being a better person.
Was there ever that thought that Bryant just wanted to show his mom off?
Well,
I guess he was kind of saying that at some level, because all these guys, I mean, they're not going to their homes.
Well, he
they're
did
going to
that.
his
It paid off, because when we would go tailgating, they would come over there and say, Bryant, we love your mom. She is so young. She is such a good cook. It certainly fed my ego.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, I was the number one mom, I tell you. I would sneak food into the barracks. I did a lot of things because I was that super mom.
Super mom,
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being super mom, but at the same time, one of the things I think you were going to talk about yesterday, and you maybe could elaborate on a little bit, mental vitamins. We got a couple of minutes, and maybe you're highlighting that now, but you've got to be taking some mental vitamins to be able to be a super mom.
Well, mental vitamins are those things that really charge our battery in terms of being positive, and some of them include being open to new learning.
Yeah.
Another is if there's something about yourself you don't like, change it. Do something. If you don't like the way your hair looks, or if you do something about it, if it's somebody, talk with them about it. Do something about things you don't like. Another thing is to build on your strengths. I'm not a person who enjoys dealing with numbers and detail things. I'd much rather talk to you. But I appreciate those skills in somebody else. And I'm not going to spend my life trying to get everything together in terms of being analytical, organized to the nth degree.
Right.
I'm going to look at what I can do and then figure out a way to work with you, or use sticky notes, or organize myself in a fashion that I can do that. And there's some people who would not do what I do.
No, sure.
So we have to take a mental vitamin, look at what we do well and build on that. That's one of the vitamins. Stop worrying, because worry is wasted energy. Stop holding grudges. They will send you to an early grave. You got to let things go. You got to let things go.
Muriel. We were talking about that before we started filming. I think you shared with us, and I'm sorry you had to go through that experience with the loss of a loved one.
Right.
Not only your husband, but also your son. And so, how do you go about, and we've only got a couple of minutes, you can't share how you go about letting that go. Yeah, I guess you can't.
Well, you just deal one day at a time. And what I look at, I can't focus on what I've lost. I have to focus on what I have left.
Yeah, or what I can give. That's right.
And what I can give.
Sure.
So that's been my mental vitamin, is to focus on what I have left and what I can give.
Can you grow positive people overnight? If you had a minute to sum it up, could you grow positive people overnight? You really...
All those people are different. Long, positive relationships take time. It's like anything else that's worthwhile. You work at it. You nurture it. You water it. You never give up on those relationships that are most important. And it's been the entire focus of my life. Even though I grew up in a family where I was loved, I never talked with my parents. They never told me how great I was. And I meant when I had my own family, I would use a nurturing approach where we would have dialogue. We had family meetings every Sunday night where we discussed things. And now my son is doing that with his family.
I love it.
And it's just something, it's like a habit. You just have to acquire it.
Those are great words. Muriel, thanks so much again for being with us this morning. Back-to-back mornings has been a treat.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Muriel O'Tuel coming up next. You know, if you were with us yesterday, you would have heard Muriel share that she doesn't speak Spanish. She doesn't speak Spanish, but she speaks a language. That special language you heard her talk about up there is they pull the stool over next to the Christmas tree around Christmas, around Thanksgiving, great around Valentine's Day, the language of validation. What a great language. Think about that, and it's as simple as those 4 letters. And you can break it down. You can get off before you run off to work today. You can think about how after work you're going to pull a loved one in and take a little time to go over this language. Admiration, appreciation. Admiration and appreciation, and of course respect. That's a critical one, and love, or like, even in the workplace. You heard her talk about this special language. It's an easy one. You can learn more about it in Footprints on the Heart, Muriel's first book. We got a second one coming out in the near future. Of course, you can go to MurielO'Tuel.com, or you can give her a call, 843-249-6903. Real easy number, 249-6903. Find a way to connect with Muriel O'Tuel. You can learn this language.